Good morning and welcome into the Lifeline Morning Show. I'm Steven. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. You know, I love getting your day started off on the right foot. And to help with that, I use an inspiring quote. And today's is going to hit just a little bit different, but stick with me and I think we'll see the value of it. If it is true for you, it is true for someone else, and you are no longer alone. So many times we feel isolated, especially when we're going through a tough time, thinking nobody else knows how I feel. But we forget that, you know what? We're not the first person to go through this. I want to take you to the book of Ecclesiastes real quick. But before I do, let me preface it by saying this. Lots of times when you think of Ecclesiastes, you think of skepticism. You think of verses in there that talk about everything being vanity, pointless, ultimately meaningless, and happiness is difficult to attain. But let's not look at it in a negative light. Instead, let's look to see what we can gain from this particular verse. It's Ecclesiastes 1, 9 and 10. It says this: "History merely repeats itself. It has all been done before. Nothing under the sun is truly new." Sometimes people say, here's something new, but actually it is old. Nothing is ever truly new. Now, if you look at that from a positive standpoint, you're going to realize that the problem you're going through right now has been overcome before. Other people have gone through the same exact thing, so you need to remember that. In fact, I bet you there's somebody in your life right now, in your circle of influence, that has been through the problem you're going through now and can give you some support through it. So the whole moral of this particular quote is really this: reach out for support. Let somebody know what you're going through. You never know what kind of help they might be able to offer. They may tell you the exact thing you need to do to get yourself through the situation safely. So give it a try today. I know it's a place of vulnerability, but let me tell you, it's worth it. There is strength in community. So reach out to somebody. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Now strap in. We've got 4 hours of show here. And just a heads up, I'm not in the studio this morning because of the weird weather. My wife and child said, no, you're not going to work. So I'm remoting in. That way I don't get stuck in Gunnersville and can't get back home to Arab. So just a little heads up as to what's happening behind the scenes. But I'm still here with you. I'm hanging out. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. As you're driving in on your way to work this morning, I know there are so many reasons to be frustrated because maybe things just aren't working out at work the way you wish they would. You put in the time, you do quality work, but it seems like it's never really recognized. Even a pat on the back from time to time would be nice. But hey, a little bit of a raise, that would go a long way too, right? But I don't want you to get discouraged. You see, I came across Carla. She's got a really good point. I want to play this clip for you, and let's come back and unpack it just a little bit, okay? Here, take a listen to this.
Listen, there are people who work, and then there are people with work ethic. Now, let me explain the difference. People who work are people who go into their day-to-day job to pay their bills, to put a roof over their head, to buy clothes, food, things that they might want. And then there are people with work ethic. Now, let me tell you why this is a different and dying breed. It is a different breed because they are just built from the inside out to work. It is intrinsically in their values and morals to work. They often produce higher quality results. They're more highly motivated. They give a crap about what they do on a day-to-day basis. And it's a dying breed because people who work and people with work ethic are treated exactly the same. There is no reward for having a high quality work ethic anymore. And this isn't blue collar, white collar. This is all the collars or no collar. And America as a whole is suffering because people with work ethic just aren't recognized. And I'm not okay with that.
Yeah, the sad part about it is it's absolutely true, but you can't let it get you down. You have to keep doing your best. It says in the Bible for us to work as unto the Lord. That's with quality. That's with even a smile on our face, a good attitude. And it's really hard to have that sometimes in the workplace, but you can do it. Just remember, it's about more than just your work. It's about more than just the paycheck. It's about who God has you around. So look at that as an opportunity to share your faith and to, well, be kind to others. You can make a really positive work environment, even with some negative sides that you don't really like. Just stay consistent and keep that quality up. it's going to pay off. Your Father sees it, and that's what matters. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Let's talk about a 9-letter word that gets thrown around quite a lot when it comes to church, and that is hypocrite. Yeah, you ever heard somebody say they don't want to go to church because that place is just full of hypocrites? You know, it's really easy to point fingers, but when you think about it, sometimes we don't always follow our own advice. Sometimes we have a bad day. We're down. We do the wrong thing. And sure, if somebody's looking at us in that moment, they can call us a hypocrite. But, I mean, that's true for everybody, except for Jesus. You know what I mean? I came across this little clip from Tony Reeder, and I've been following this guy for a long time. He goes and walks at the park, and he pulls his phone out and does a little inspirational video, like every day. But he's got a confession to make, and I'm so glad he's doing it, because this shows the humanity in all of us.
You know, I talk about love, happiness, kindness every day. But you know what? I don't always feel happy. I'm not always kind. And I don't always share love. But I remind myself each day that I should. That's why I do it. I hope it doesn't get annoying. Hope you can remind me so the day that I'm down, you can lift me up. Go out and be a blessing. God bless you. God blessed us. And here we are.
That was so well said. Some days we just have off days, and we need a little encouragement too. Not judgment, not a finger pointing at us. Yeah. Let's keep in mind that none of us are perfect, and we all need a little grace and a little mercy. And if God can give that to us, I think we should be able to give it to one another. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. I love doing life with you. Our grandparents are a wealth of knowledge. Why? Well, because they've been there, done that. They've got the t-shirt and the scars to prove it. And lots of times they want to help us not make the same mistakes that they did. So they offer us advice. And it would do us well to really take it to heart. I can tell you, for instance, some home remedies my granny used to use. When I sprained my ankle really bad, she took an old brown paper sack, soaked it in vinegar, and then she wrapped it around my ankle. Made it feel better in a hurry. And if I ever had a sore throat, go in there, get some hot salt water, gargle that. And it worked. So other advice, it comes in handy too, not just those home remedies. I came across this lady who posted this. She said, "My grandmother always said that if you feel terrible, get out of bed, take a shower, do your hair, and put on clothes, down to your shoes, and have a good meal. Either this will fix it, or you're dressed and fed and in a better place to deal with the problem." Pretty practical advice, right? I would call that a life hack. Hey, I've got a few more of these I want to get to throughout the show, so hang out with me for a while. And remember, if you have to step away from your radio, go ahead and tune us in online, 885jfm.com. Click that On Now button, press play, and we can keep you company. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me right here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Normally, I'd be asking you to say it with me and hit the horn and all that, and we'd be doing the car line competition. But this morning's a little bit different. Yeah, most of our kids, I think all of our kids, are out of school this morning, so there's no car line. And I'm actually at the house so that I don't get stuck in Gunnersville and can't make it home to ARAB. So I'm sorry, but we're not playing the car line competition today. But I do plan on bringing it back on Monday. So I hope that you'll come back and want to play with me then. All right, hey, hang out. We've got some stuff to talk about. I might be at home, but I'm still doing the show. So keep it locked in right here to 88.5 JFM. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Social media is weird, and it's really changing the way that we do things. I came across Miss Gibson. If you don't know her, well, I've shared quite a lot of her content here on the show before. She is a high school English teacher who has kids of her own, and she learned something over the holidays, something she's bringing into the new year, and she's kind of enlightening us all. Here, I want to play this for you, and then let's come back and unwrap it a little bit, okay?
Things you learn when your adult daughters come home for the holidays. So we went to watch a movie the other night, and we turned it on, and I have 3 daughters, and they were here, and 2 of them are like young millennials, and the other one's an older Gen Z, and all of them were like, why don't you have the captions on? I'm Gen X, and all I could think was, because I'm not 70 yet? I even said, because we're not at grandma's house? My Gen X butt was shocked to find out that these young people have decided it's absolutely okay to watch movies with the captions going the whole time, that they get more out of it, that if somebody talks to them in the middle of the film, they can still read and get what's going on even if they can't hear clearly. Why are young people so much smarter than us? So now I'm taking a poll. How many of you out there that are millennials actually do this? And how many of you Gen Xers are so excited this is potentially an option? It's me. I'm excited. Walking into the new year with a new tool in my belt and a slight bit more enlightened. Happy New Year, you guys.
It's so funny that she's pointing this out because, you see, I have a Gen Alpha kid. Her name's Grace. She's 9 years old, and she loves watching the socials with captions on. I even noticed that sometimes she'll turn captions on Netflix. Yeah, and so she can kind of read along. And that's great, too, to help her read because, like I said, she's 9 years old. She's in 3rd grade. She's doing a great job reading, by the way. But if you look at Instagram, you look at TikTok, you're going to see those captions are usually on the videos. So it makes sense that they'd like to see that on TV too. So pretty cool stuff, huh? Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I took a look at the answers in the comments. Remember, she said she was doing a poll, Miss Gibson there? Well, quite a lot of people are using those captions for a lot of different reasons. This person says she uses the captions because she doesn't like the audio on the streaming services. The explosions are too loud and the dialogue is too soft. So if she has the captions on, she can follow along. Makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. And a Gen Xer commented and said, hey, always subtitles. They've been on for 5 years now. It helps. Okay, I'm going to mention something, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind. Lego bricks. Yeah, I saw that. You winced a little bit. You've stepped on one of those, haven't you?
Ouch!
Yeah, it doesn't feel too good. But now think of it from a child's perspective. Lego bricks. Yeah, that changed it, didn't it? Mm-hmm. It's fun. Building with Lego, all kinds of things you can make. And there's some master builders out there. So much so there's a TV show about it, right? Lego Masters. It's pretty cool. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely do that. But hey, I came across this 17-year-old who has been building with Lego bricks for a while now. But he really spent a lot of time with it during the pandemic. And, well, he decided to do a little something for everybody else. He was wondering what happens to old Legos when kids are done playing with them. And he found out that lots of times they're just taking up space. So he thought, maybe we can use these for a good cause. So he started this business, if you want to call it that, called Pass the Bricks. And so he takes donations and he gives these Lego bricks away to kids. It's really a lot of fun, and it's something that is really piquing a lot of interest across the country. So glad I came across his story. His name is Charlie Jeffers, and yeah, he just wanted to kind of pass along the fun of playing with Lego to other kids who might not be able to. So what happens is, when he gets the donations, he washes them there at his house, make sure they're good and dry, and he'll even piece them together as Lego kits and give them away. How cool is that? Yeah, and a lot of people have gotten on board with this. 2 of his original goals for Pass the Bricks included collecting 800 pounds of Lego bricks from the community and donating 1,000 unique sets in the first year. As of fall 2023, Pass the Bricks has collected nearly 900 pounds of Legos and delivered 3,000 sets to kids. He says to see the kids play with Lego for the first time is so awesome and definitely makes me want to keep doing this. A lot of great things happening in this world. I'm so glad I can bring you some good news here. And I'll keep doing that as long as I keep finding these good stories because, you know, there's plenty of negative we can think about, but I'm ready for some good news. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. I love when I have light bulb moments. I get just a little bit smarter, and I just had one. I was looking over this list of 12 life hacks, and I shared one of them earlier. It was actually about grandma, and if you want to hear that, you can catch it on the podcast after the show at 10:15 over on Spotify. But hey, this is what I saw, and it made perfect sense. I even asked my wife, hey, is this really how it works? And she actually checked it out for me, and yes, this is how it works. So you ready? Here we go. Percentages are reversible. So working out 4% of 50 will give you the same result as 50% of 4. See, that blew my mind. We checked it with the calculator on a couple different scenarios, and we tried this, 4% of 50. Just off the top of my head, I have no idea what that is, but 50% of anything is half of it, so I can figure that out quick, right? 50% of 4 is 2, but 4% of 50 is also 2. How neat! Hey, try it out. See if it doesn't work for you. It might make shopping a little bit easier, especially on that clearance aisle. Oh, by the way, that's my favorite section over at Cracker Barrel. As you walk into the Gunnersville Cracker Barrel, take a right and then take another right. You know, that front window, that's where they keep the clearance stuff. And it might have to do a little math, but it's worth it. Really good deals. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Oh, and I can't leave Walmart without the clearance section either, so I just gotta go and see. You know, I think we're all stretching that dollar these days. I made mention of this earlier on in the show about how lots of people say they don't want to go to church because that church house is just full of hypocrites. Yeah, that 9-letter word can be a little hurtful. And I talked a little bit about that earlier, but I want somebody else to do the talking now. His name is Brian Trent. He's from Hampton, South Carolina. He and his family pastor Lighthouse Church out there. And they're on the socials under Trent Tribe. They have so many good videos that they put out there. And I found this one, and I thought, ooh, this one needs to be heard. So take a listen.
So my wife sent me this quote the other day that said, "Stop being impressed by those who can quote scripture. Be impressed by those who live scripture." Oh man, can we talk about why this matters so much to me and why it should matter to everyone? Throughout my life, I have seen my fair share of people that can quote chapters of the Bible from memory, but many of those same people didn't live chapters in their own life. It seemed that it was more important to talk about it, to impress people, than it was to live it in their own personal life. And one of those people in particular could have had a major influence on my life with the knowledge that they had of Scripture. But instead of living that Scripture out in their personal life so that I could see it, the knowledge they had became a weapon against me and against anyone else that didn't look or sound like they did. See, when the Word becomes a weapon against other people, that's a dangerous place to be, because the Word of God above all else should transform me, my life, from the inside out. And as that Word transforms me from the inside out, then God begins to use His Word through my life, sometimes without even having to speak a word out loud. Listen to what Jesus said Himself in Matthew chapter 23, verses 2 through 4. Jesus said, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees, they sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders. But they themselves, they're not willing to lift a finger to move them." Wow! Jesus told it like it was, didn't He? I mean, not only did He say they didn't practice what they preached, but He went a step further and said they bundle the law up, put it on everyone else's shoulders to carry, while they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move any of them. See, I've had the same experience when I was younger, and even as a pastor. We've had our fair share of people through the years that have tried to weigh us down with their own convictions, to attempt to take God's Word and use it to hold everyone else ransom. The only thing that held me ransom was my own sin, and Jesus paid that ransom for me to be free. So it wouldn't make any sense that God would want each of us to hold another person ransom with the very Word that God used to set us free to start with. Now, a lot of people might say, "Yeah, that's why I don't go to church anymore, preacher." And I, you know what? I get that. But can I make a suggestion that may take you a different direction than that?
Stick around for that suggestion. It's coming up in the next few minutes, right here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. You've got to hear the rest of the story. So remember, if you have to tune us in online, it's real easy. Go to 885jfm.com, click that On Now button, and press play. Be back in just a few. We're picking up this story with Brian Trent, who's going through this whole idea of people saying they don't want to go to church because, well, there are a bunch of hypocrites there. Yeah, you know, those people who say to live one way but actually live their lives another. Yeah, Well, this is what he has to say about that. And I hope you'll take this to heart and maybe even share this with somebody. I'll have it on the podcast after the show. Here you go.
Now, a lot of people might say, yep, that's why I don't go to church anymore, preacher. And I, you know what? I get that. But can I make a suggestion that may take you a different direction than that? See, I was faced with the same dilemma. Why do I need the church if I've experienced people like the Pharisees, like the ones that Jesus talks about? But instead of it pushing me away from the church, I began to think that maybe what the church needs are more doers and less preachers. The more I grew in my relationship with Christ, the more I became determined to be someone that was different than what I had experienced myself. See, as I grew in my relationship, I realized that many of the examples that I had been shown were not the true message of Christ and were not true examples of what the church was supposed to be. So instead of running from it, I decided, you know what, I'm going to dig in and be determined to make a change. And the more I grew, the more determined I was to be the best representative I could be of what Christ lived out in the Gospels. Determined to be a fairly accurate depiction of the true church. And I decided that living it was more important than quoting it, and living it was more important than screaming it. Now don't get me wrong, I make plenty of mistakes, and I've got plenty of issues, as we all do. But each day, if we get a little better than the day before, then eventually we become the greatest sermon the world has ever seen. Not heard, seen. See, my prayer for you today is that you too will determine in your heart to not let the Pharisees of the church push you away, because they're always going to exist. But that you will be determined to be the change and be a real and authentic representation of the church for the world around you to see. To walk it out before you talk it out. Love you guys.
If you want to check out more of Brian Trent's content, you can find him on Instagram. You can find him over on TikTok under Trent Tribe. Go check him out. You're going to love it. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Hey, I just want to give a big shout out to our listeners right now over on the stream. I see you listening to us up in Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, thanks so much for making us part of your day. And Joel Modest down in Palm Coast, Florida. I hope it's a little warmer down there than it is up here, sir. Hope you have a great day as well. We've got Reno County, Kansas hanging out, and we've got Skyline, Alabama and Gunnersville, Alabama on the stream, as well as our friends over in Helsinki, Finland. Wow, thanks so much for making us part of your day, whether it's on the stream, the radio, or the podcast on Spotify. It really means a lot. You're part of our story of 28 years reaching this world with some really good news. So thank you so much for being here. You ever say something and then realize the words that just came out of your mouth, they didn't sound the same as in your head? Yeah, in fact, you probably want to go find a hole somewhere and crawl up in it. I did that the other day with a coworker. She had been to a local restaurant, came back, and I just had a few words to say to her. And then before I let her go, I said, "Oh, by the way, where'd you go? You smell delicious." Oh, it caught me right as it came out of my mouth. I said, "I'm so sorry. That didn't sound right." And she said, "I knew what you meant." Let's talk about that for a second. The power of smell. When you're at the Mexican restaurant and one of the servers walks by you with a sizzling platter, you smell the onions and the peppers and the cheese and the steak and the chicken and it's making my mouth water right now. Or maybe it's a pizza place. Oh, by the way, I went yesterday to Pizza Ed's in Gunnersville. That place is fire. I had their Chicago deep dish, all the meats. Oh, it's like heaven in my mouth. I'm just saying, if you haven't tried that place, you might want to check it out. But I came across a few startling facts about restaurants. Now, I'm not saying any of the restaurants around here do this. I'm just saying that possibly this is what's going on at some of those restaurants out there. You know, when you look at the menu, or you look at that chalkboard as you first walk in and it says, "Special of the Day." You know, sometimes that's just whatever meat is getting ready to go bad the next day, and they've got to get rid of it, so they don't want to waste food. Might as well make some money off of it. I think that's pretty smart. What do you think? And some of your favorite tastes there at the restaurant are actually things that you can purchase at Walmart. Yeah, this person put on here that the brownies that sold out like hotcakes were actually Duncan Hines red velvet brownies off of a Walmart shelf. You know, I go to the restaurant so I don't have to cook. right? But I don't want the food to taste the same as if I cooked it. But then again, does it really matter? Because I'm not having to cook. And they're delicious. If I don't know about it, I guess I'm okay with it, you know? Hey, I wonder if you know any of these restaurant secrets that you can enlighten me with. Tell you what, I'm not in the studio right now, but I am monitoring my email while I'm doing the show from the house. So send me an email, Steven, that's with a V, at 885jfm.com. I want to hear your restaurant secrets, those tips, those tricks, those things behind the scenes that we regular people don't know. Please email me. Again, it's Steven, Steven, at 885jfm.com. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Having a lot of fun this morning talking about those restaurant secrets that most of us don't know about. I asked you to email me some of those secrets that we need to know. And came across one here. It's all about ranch. Can I just talk a little bit about how good ranch dressing is? It makes everything better. Pizza, yeah. Chicken fingers, salads, mwah. Chef's kiss, right? You use it on everything. Oh, and mozzarella sticks, that's good too. Anyway, I'm just gonna make myself more hungry. Donna says that people used to come to the restaurant she worked at to just buy the ranch. And she said what people didn't know is that, well, it was just Hidden Valley Ranch packets from Walmart. The only secret ingredient, they used buttermilk instead of regular milk. And that's it. So that's what made it so delicious. Hey, thank you for that, Donna. I might be having to try some of that myself, that secret ingredient. Thanks for letting us all in on it. Hey, I'm watching for your email right now. So if you got a secret you want to pass along to me, those restaurant secrets, it's Steven with a V, Steven, at 885jfm.com. Waiting on your email right now. Thanks for hanging out with me here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Things are just a little different this morning. I'm doing the show from the house because the winds were supposed to be up 85 to 100 miles an hour, and I didn't want to get stuck in Gunnersville and not be able to get back home. Plus, my wife and my daughter are both home today because school's out, right? So I've been like loud and obnoxious between these breaks. I've just been playing with them a little bit, screaming at them from in my office here, and I've got some smiles and some giggles, and it's been a lot of fun. But you know what? This is a weird kind of day, but for parents, I mean, especially those of you with multiple kids, loud and obnoxious and crazy is your norm. And I came across one mom who is definitely feeling it. Her name is Christina Crawford, and this is what she had to say. I lost it over winter break. Sometime around day 5, I yelled, "Everybody stop touching me and asking me for stuff." I felt guilty for snapping and apologized, but the truth is, after being perpetually bombarded with the sights, sounds, and sensations of raising children, I was feeling touched out and just plain needed some space. While the holidays and winter break made the feelings more intense than usual, it was no strange sensation as a mom of 3. Everything is loud. Everything is sticky. The car smells funky from all the sports equipment. By the end of the day, I feel depleted and overstimulated by the sheer amount of it. I need a break from the nonstop stimuli. I crave silence and alone time the way a starving person craves food. A big part of it, I've realized, is the noise. Electronics at high volumes, the blaring television, high-pitched screeches, and repetitive sounds. So basically any kid's toy or song. They all make me stressed and grumpy. Once we had a Buzz Lightyear toy that went off at random times. This drove me batty for months until I couldn't take it anymore. To protect the guilty, me, I'm not going to go into detail about the horrors this previously mentioned toy may or may not have suffered, but suffice to say, it is no longer with us. When I find myself overstimulated, I am prone to yelling and losing my patience with my kids. I know during these times that I am not my best self, and I always regret it afterwards. I can usually feel it building up, so recognizing the early warning signs and knowing what triggers my feelings of sensory overwhelm are key for me. Another challenge is the near constant bickering. As an only child, I'm not used to siblings fighting, so this has been baptism by fire. The kids don't know how lucky they are to even have a sibling, so it enrages me that instead of appreciating that they have a built-in playmate, they argue about everything. Loud and prolonged squabbles have ensued over such ridiculous nonsense as their brother looking at them for too long, whose imaginary friend is taller, whose spot on the couch this is, and what we will name our pet turtle. Spoiler alert, we do not have nor will we be getting a turtle. These fights are like nails on a chalkboard to me. Car rides are the worst because there's nowhere to run. I've often wished my SUV came equipped with one of those privacy dividers, like the kind they have in the limos. Yeah. Don't even get me started on the mess. The sight of our house in disarray induces total anxiety. I look out and see wreckage composed of scattered toys, dirty laundry, and cups. So many cups. Seeing clutter everywhere feels smothering. The worst are Nerf bullets. There are always hundreds of them everywhere, and they somehow seem to regenerate at alarming rates. When I get irritated and feel a meltdown coming on, I'm working on recognizing it and taking action instead of trying to power through. I've even started saying to the kids, Mom is feeling overwhelmed right now and really needs some time to herself. I'm going to go in the other room for 15 minutes to give my brain a break and calm my body. This strategic recharging doesn't always work, and half the time I'm interrupted by arguing over the remote, but even just acknowledging it by saying it out loud helps. I was recently lamenting to a friend about the noise level, but in the next sentence I was singing the praises of the joyful liveliness of having a bunch of kids plus their friends around my house. We both laughed because it seemed so obvious that the two things I was describing are at odds with one another. But that's the thing about parenting. Sometimes two things are true at the same time. I do love having a bunch of kids around, yet sometimes it's just too much. Kids should be kids, loud, annoying, noises and all, but I'm also a person who has needs, and sometimes my need is to not hear those loud, annoying noises, and perhaps even get a little respite from rowdy kids or endless requests for snacks. I'll never be able to fully eliminate the bombardment of stimuli that comes with having 3 kids, but I am slowly figuring out how to mitigate the effects so I can hang on to what sliver of sanity I have left. But like everything in parenting, it's a work in progress. I'm slowly learning it's okay for me to remove myself from the situations where I feel overwhelmed. Also, noise-canceling headphones are clutch. Very well said. Yeah, pretty relatable, right? Hey, Mom, keep up the good work. You're doing such a great job raising your kids. Thank you for doing it. You are so strong. Having grown up here in Alabama, there have been a few times where I've really got to enjoy the snow. Nothing like up north. I know for those of you who are transplants from up there to down here, you don't see it near as much, and you're probably thankful for that, but I'm actually thankful for the snow. I remember the blizzard of '93. Oh my goodness, there was so much snow. I was stuck at my grandma's house, and I would rather be stuck there than at my house. That's why I called my papa and said, come get me before it gets too bad to get on the roads. So I was over there, and we didn't have power for a couple weeks? But it's okay. Granny knew how to take care of things. She was making biscuits on the wood-burning stove, and she was making sure she kept everything good and cold by putting it out on the deck because it was cold outside. So she just knew how to make things happen. But one thing I remember is snow cream. Oh, so good. Delicious snow and sugar and all kinds of toppings. Oh, it's good. But I've always been warned to not eat the first snow because there are all kinds of pollutants in the air and it might not be safe to eat. But the longer I've lived, the more I've realized that it's not just the first snow. It's any snow that falls could have pollutants in it. But then again, aren't we breathing what's around us anyway? I did a little research on this, and I found out that yes, there could be some particles in the air, like dust, and even some bacterial things that combine with those snow crystals and can end up in your digestive system if you eat snow cream. But, we don't ever hear of big outbreaks of people going to the hospital because they were poisoned by snow. So, for the most part, it's pretty well safe, but I'm not really advocating doing it either. It's just one of those things that I think every now and then might be okay, but be careful with it. In fact, some researchers and experts say if you have to try to rely on snow for water, say you're stuck out camping or something like that, you shouldn't rely on it because it can really lower your body temperature. But in normal situations where you have heat inside your home and you want to enjoy some snow cream, it pretty well looks to be okay. I just wanted to talk about it because I don't know, maybe you've heard the same thing. Well, this is one thing we can all agree on. don't eat the yellow snow. And I say all that to say this. We might have a chance of making some snow cream coming up on Monday and Tuesday of next week. Yeah, we'll see how it all works out. So eat that snow cream with caution, but it's so good. It's already time for me to close out the show. Hey, I've had a blast hanging out with you this morning. I hope you've had a good time as well. I know things have been a little weird, but I do want to close it the way I close it every day, and that's with your inspiring quote of the day. It's so good, and I've had 4 hours to think about this one. Colson Whitehead said this: "If it is true for you, it is true for someone else, and you are no longer alone." You know, lots of times we don't realize this until we're sitting around telling stories of things that happened in our past. And then we find out that we're not the only person that dealt with that situation. And it leads me to think that maybe we don't need to wait until after it's all done. Maybe we need to reach out to each other in the middle of the mess, in the middle of the hardship, in the middle of the struggle, between the rock and the hard place. Because sometimes there's somebody who can help us out of there. Maybe give us a tip or trick, and tell us how they got out of that thing, how they handled it, and it'll help us along. What I'm saying is, there's power in relationship. There's power in community. And if we can learn from one another and take advice, have each other's back, this world is going to be a much easier place to live in, right? So hey, let's resolve to do that today. If we're struggling, let's not be so prideful that we can't reach out and ask somebody for help. Go ahead and ask them. I think you'll be surprised at all the support you'll receive. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning here on the Lifeline Morning Show. Now, please stay weather aware, stay safe today, and I'll see you right back here next week on the Lifeline Morning Show. Have the best weekend so far.